listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Well, look at that. We are officially recording.
Damn right we are. Hey, what's going on, buddy? Everybody, welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Joe Vitale, with my good friend, esteemed colleague, Jamie Wonko. How we doing, Jamie?
You know, we are the bee's knees, as they say.
And apparently we're 1,000 years old. Who says the bee's knees anymore?
Everybody says it.
I mean, everybody does. Yes.
Come on.
Well, look, I am wasting no time getting our guest in because she's got places to go, people to see. Okay.
She's big time. She is
big time.
the big time.
Listen, when you are going to have your first guest of season 3, we better come out swinging for the fences. And
right.
We have a good friend of the pod who was on in our first season. So let's bring her in. Hey, Educator Andrea, how are you? It's great to have you on again.
Thank you. It is so good to be here. I think we need to say up top that the three of us actually have a little beef that we need to address.
We're in a quarrel? We love a quarrel.
I love it.
So you see, this summer,
I know what this is.
this summer, I had a comedy show, as one does, in your neck of the woods. And I had tickets for you guys. And I got to tell you, that was my worst show ever.
Oh, no.
And I'm not saying that it's your guys' fault that since you weren't there, I was unable to perform at peak level. But that is what I'm going to tell everyone because it was I'm actually so glad you guys weren't there because it was my worst show.
Oh, no. Was it New Jersey people being New Jersey people? Is that what was happening?
Legitimately not. Everyone was lovely. It was me. Here's the thing. So I had a show the weekend before in Washington, 2 back-to-back shows. And then I came home for a couple of days. And then I went to Philly and New Jersey. And I think I was just so tired and so feeling weird. And I was nervous because the person I would kind of consider my comedy mentor, Gasper Randazzo, he and his wife came to watch. And so I was nervous and I was tired and I got very in my head. And that comedy club is more like a conference room than it is an actual comedy club. Comedy clubs are great because you can't see your audience. Like, it's good to be able to see a few people, but if you can see everyone and you feel like you're at professional development, it's kind of a nightmare scenario because then as the comic, you're standing up there and the only people you notice are the people who do not laugh. And so it was like kind of a magical mixture of all of the worst things you can have in a comedy show where I'm tired, I'm extra nervous because somebody who I really respect in comedy is watching me. And literally I asked him to take notes. And then I could see everyone who wasn't laughing. And I was like, great. And then you guys didn't come. And so I was like, well, why am I bothering? Why did I try?
Unfortunately, life got in the way. I actually texted.
We take full responsibility.
Yeah. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I actually texted you like a week later. I was like, oh my God, the show, we didn't go. Like I just had like this epiphany moment of like, holy crap, we missed it. And then you were like, it's all good. Don't worry about it. We'll see you on the episode. We'll record a blah, blah, blah. And then you're quarreling. You came in here with a sharp sword to like cut us down the size.
That's right. So I could fight you guys. No, and it legitimately was not a big deal at all. Like I said, it was not my best show. And so whenever I have those, I always feel like you can't acknowledge to the audience to that extent that like you feel like you didn't do well because some people had a great time and some people were like, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I laughed so hard. And I'm like, really? You did? Oh, but great. Awesome. Glad. And truly so grateful that everyone came and all of that. But it was one of those shows that I was like, I could not sleep that night, wanted to call. And then I was also flying out of Newark.
Oh,
so,
I mean, beautiful.
And they canceled my flight.
Newark, beautiful Newark, New Jersey.
So it was a heck of a weekend. But yeah, no, it was legitimate. It was not a big deal. And I've had that happen so many times where I'm like, I'll totally go to that thing. And then I remember a week later that I missed it entirely. That has happened to me a million times. So it is not a big deal at all.
Yeah, I live and die by the calendar, and I think I didn't put it in. And I was like, holy crap, that happened. And then I was, it was one of those things.
All good.
But yeah, well, I mean, speaking of, since we had you on in our season 1 way back in the day with grainy video, now there's you got to tell us what you've been up to. I mean, there's a lot of things happen in the Educator Andrea world that our listeners need to know about. So what's been going on?
It's been crazy. So I think since the last time I was on, I have started doing stand-up, and it kind of started just because Gasper Randazzo, his name is Stand Up Randazzo on all the different social media platforms, who is like a very established comic in your neck of the woods. He's like selling out shows all over the place in Staten Island and Jersey and all of that. And also Phil Lindsay, who is the like Gen Z slang teacher. And
Yes.
he has been on a million different, like he's on the Today Show. It feels like every month to define various slang words and all of that.
He makes me very nervous because he sits there with like a cup of coffee filled
I
all the way to the top. I hope to God it's a prop and it's not like hot coffee because it is legitimately at the top of this thing. And he moves and it kind of sloshes, and I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, he's
He's
gonna
a
burn himself.
sociopath because he will drink room temperature coffee. And so I'm pretty sure it's always that. But I told him for one of our promos, it needs to start with him holding that cup of coffee. And then one of us is just going to slap it so it gets all over
Yeah.
him and then be like, anyways, no one cares about that. Let's talk about the Teachers Lounge shows. So I don't know if he'll let me do it, but that's my goal next time we're together is I get to slap the coffee cup out of his hand because it drives me nuts.
I saw him at a show, Gasper,
Yeah.
when he opened for Joe Dombrowski.
Yes.
And just hysterical teacher show. And that's the kind of the tour that you're out and on, right? With are you with board teachers, right? Yes?
Oh,
Am I
no.
correct?
No,
No.
no.
I
No,
had it
no.
wrong? Okay, I had it wrong.
In no way affiliated with board
Another
teachers.
quarrel. Another
No,
quarrel is
it's
happening.
legitimately not a quarrel at all. I am
I think
actually
I should cut
friends.
that. Should I cut that out? No.
You don't
Okay.
have to cut it out. Keep it in. Keep it in. No,
Whoops.
we have no quarrel whatsoever with any of the comedians at all on the Board Teachers comedy tour. We're just a very different entity. So it is just Gasper and Phil and me. We love Joe. We think he's incredible, and he's off selling out massive theaters all on his own. So he doesn't need us. But we love him. And Gasper has his podcast with Joe that they do called the Social Studies Podcast, I believe.
Love it.
Yeah. And so we love him, but it's just Phil, Gasper, and I. And it's a really nice balance because the three of us have very different vibes, but we work really, really well together. And it's very different from the Board Teachers show because, well, number one, all of us are still in education in some way. And most of the Board Teachers comics have gone full time into comedy.
Oh.
And the other thing is there is just, theirs is purely traditional stand up. So each comic goes up there, does their bit, and then disappears. For our shows, we all do 20 minutes and then the three of us are out together. And so it's like hanging out in the teacher's lounge with three teachers
That's
and
awesome.
doing like games and audience interactions. And Gasper's always bullying someone. And Gasper and I are always bullying Phil because he's our little homeschool child. So it's very, very fun. And it's crazy because we've only done the shows now 2 weekends. We had our weekend in February of 2025. And then we just did our second set of shows this past 2 weekends ago now, in Irvine and Tempe. And we sold out those venues. On a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon at like 2:00 and 4:00, which
That
is
is awesome.
kind of unheard of for comedy clubs. Like people don't sell tickets that time of day. And I'm like, have you ever met teachers? They will day drink. Like
Yeah.
they will come for a good time. And both venues were massive. We sold almost 500 tickets in each of those venues. And it was, I think all three of us just honestly were so grateful and so humbled by the fact that all of these teachers want to come and hang out with us. So that's and we do dates once a month. So because we're all parents, and because we're all still in education, I'm still doing my, courses at the university. I'm on tenure track here. So I teach 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. And then Gasper and Phil are still doing like they're full-time teachers still. So they have to be back on Monday morning. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the main reasons that our Sundays are matinees still is because we all have to catch flights and go back to our jobs. And so, yes,
There's also this movement too of like people want to be done early.
Yeah, like
Which there's this thing. It's like this. There's this like club thing. It's like for like people that are in their 30s, and it's like
isn't
it
it called like
ends.
30 and up or
It's
something like
yeah,
that?
and it like starts at 6 p.m. and it ends at 10
Yes.
p.m. So
That's the
everybody can
dream.
just go.
That is the dream. Because can you imagine starting like I have vivid memories of when I was like college age, and my friends and I would start getting ready at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
leave at like 10:30 p.m. And
Yes.
the joke was like, would we make it back before sunrise? That and I cannot even tell you how much that sounds like misery to me now.
Yeah.
I would rather die. The thought of going out all night and drinking and do like the dehydration, the impact on my skin and my GI tract after something like that,
No,
absolutely not.
no.
Absolutely not. Which is honestly another reason why traveling and working with Gasper and Phil is so fun. Gasper doesn't drink. That's something that like no one really like thinks to ask or whatever, but he doesn't drink. Phil and I drink, but very lightly. So none of us are partiers. And within the comedy scene, that's also fairly rare. That like we're not heavy partiers. We all have young kids at home. So we're kind of limiting our tour dates to one weekend a month right now for that reason. We might eventually go up to 2 weekends a month, but right now, like that's probably the max that we're doing because all of our kids are like 5 and 7. So we have littles at home. Um, but yeah, it's been so much fun getting to do the shows and meet people. And it's something that I was terrified of doing for a very long time. I always had people in my comments being like, you should do stand up. Your timing is so good. And I was like, but I'm scared. Like that sounds so scary. And my worst nightmare did come to like fruition. Like there have been times where I've stood up on stage and I've done a joke and it did not land. And I survived. And it's still not as bad as when you're in front of a classroom and you have to see all of those people again tomorrow. Like it's worse when you have a student that is like, how do you feel about the joke you made in class
Yeah.
today? Do you think it was funny? That's so much worse because at your shows, people will probably only remember the jokes that made them laugh. Most of the time, we don't remember, as long as there were a few. Like if there were at least a few good laughs in there, that's usually what we take away from a comedy show. We don't usually dissect, like, oh, but that one joke that she said 5 minutes in, that one didn't really land unless they were offended, right? Like most of the time everyone leaves just like, "Oh yeah, it was good. It was funny. Like it was great." And my shows are getting better and better each time and I'm really really proud of where it is now and it's so much fun. So it's just been a wild ride and then I also have my book coming out in May of 2026. It's called They Never Taught Us That and it is a teacher survival guide book that it's I I was explaining this to someone and they told me because at the beginning of each chapter is a question of how you handle something and then I go into my own personal anecdote and then I give advice and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's like like when you go to a recipe and you just want the ingredients and you have to hear the personal story first." And I was like, "That's not the vibe." No, 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 no.
Oh, sometimes you need it, right? You need
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
little
I was
bit
like,
of like personal experience to put a stamp on it.
I'm like, I'm being relatable. And like, but ever since they said that, I think it's so funny. So I put it in my forward and I explained, like, if you don't want to hear about like, how my grandmother brought this recipe in her bosom from war-torn Russia, then skip down and you can get just to the pieces you need and it's got a bunch of downloads that people are going to be able to get from it as well that comes with the book so things like templates for talking to parents and families and students and all of that kind of stuff so I'm very excited. I've worked very hard and that's been my goal. That's how I ended up on social media was that I wanted to get a job at a university and write a book and so it feels like this is the year that a lot of those things are kind of finally coming to fruition which is very very exciting.
It's awesome.
What are the classes that you teach at the college?
So, it's middle school instructional strategies 301, 302. So it's CIMT. I don't even know what that acronym stands for because it's like an old timey one, but it's instructional strategies for future middle school teachers.
Okay.
And I do that at the undergrad level and then the graduate level. So I work with these undergrads that are going to become middle school and high school teachers. And the first half of the semester is like us in class and going through different strategies, lesson planning, all of that. And the second half of the class, they're in the classroom and I'm going and observing them and they're writing lesson plans. They're working with a host teacher. And so it's like the immersion before they actually do student teaching, which is, I think, so cool. They didn't do that in my program and I wish they did because I think it's incredibly valuable.
Mhm.
And then I also do the same thing, but with our transition to teaching program, which is a bunch of adult learners who are already teaching for the most part in a classroom and are trying to get licensed with their like emergency licensure stuff. So I visit with them on Mondays via Zoom from 7 to 8:30 live, and then everything else they do asynchronously.
Is that like alternate route for those adults? Like they had other careers and now they're going into the classroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and Indiana has been rolling out a bunch of new policies. So that may change a little bit with time, but I really enjoy those classes. I teach 3 of the 5 classes that transition to teaching folks take at ISU right now, which is really, really exciting because that means that I can make sure that they're getting what they need. Because they're, and it's one of those things that, like, we as teachers, we always feel like we're the best ones to give them whatever it is they need. But it is really exciting that I get to focus on a lot of really pragmatic tools where it's like, hey, you don't really need to know this theory unless it has a very obvious and clear applicable use in your classroom when you start in 3 weeks. And so a lot of the assignments we do in the summer course and in the fall courses are create your welcome slideshow for the first day of class, create the policies and syllabus you're going to use in your class. And here's how we do that. And here's where you need to look on your school website to find these things, because I don't want to be taking away from their classrooms. I want to be supporting them and like helping build up what they're already trying to do. And create routines that are going to make their jobs easier and more sustainable, which I think is one of the things that was really missing when I was in my program learning to become a teacher. So, yeah, that part of things, like my coworkers call my university job, for which I got a doctorate, my side gig. So whenever I'm there, my colleagues will be like, "Oh, you decided to come to your side gig today," and I was like, "Listen,
Yeah.
let me live."
I what is your if you don't mind me asking, what does your enrollment look like? Because we've talked a lot about, on previous shows of ours about like teacher shortage, and I recently had some conversations with a program director at a local community college about some posted positions they had about an intro to education position in their program, as well as a teaching with technology program, which they were looking for teachers to teach.
Yeah.
So maybe getting involved at that at the collegiate level for a county college, but they also had to pull back because their enrollment went down. And they said, like, look, we would love to talk to you about this further and have you maybe come in for an interview. However, we don't have a spot because our enrollment has dropped. Like, what does that look like for you? And again, you're a 4-year institution, so it's a little different than a county college, but um, are you experiencing the same thing?
Yeah, and in Indiana, it's been particularly rough. And Indiana State, in particular, has really struggled because we are a school that really caters to first generation college students and folks that do not come from an abundance of money and all of that. So, a lot of our students are on financial aid and all of that. And the state of Indiana recently has adjusted how they're doing their funding. So, they are trying to focus more on trades and they're trying to focus more on other pathways other than the university system, because 60% of the jobs in the state of Indiana are jobs that do not require a college degree. Um, and
That is
which,
interesting.
right. And so,
Yeah.
from a perspective of my kids are going to graduate from schools here and I want them to get a job one day that is going to help them support themselves, I don't think it's all bad, and I know this is terrible as a person who works at a university. I don't think it's all bad to spend a little bit more focus on trades if that's where there are jobs, and we can get kids in a pathway that is gonna get them gainfully employed. That's the goal, right? Um,
60%
$60%.
that's a shocking number.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Indiana is still very much a factory place. There are all kinds of factories. It's so funny, when we first moved to Terre Haute from California, a lot of people commented, "It smells there." And I was, like, freaking out because I was like, "What do you mean it smells there? It's a whole town. Like, how can it smell?" So, it used to be that there were 2 major factories in Terre Haute that did produce a very strong smell. There was a paper mill and a dog food factory.
Oh.
And both of those have since shut down. So the smell's gone, which is great. But they're now those jobs are gone as well. And so Terre Haute, my husband said we moved to the Florida of Indiana because they have like these Facebook pages with chatter and stuff, and we'll talk about all like the local things. Like yesterday, there was somebody posted that the police were responding to a report that there was a man in the trunk of a woman's car and she couldn't get him out, but she was driving to the hospital. And I was like, what is happening
Oh.
in this town? Like, such a weird thing. But so there's a lot of poverty in this town, and not a lot of job opportunities, but the biggest, employer in this town is actually the public schools.
Hmm.
And then after that is the colleges, because there's 3 colleges in our very small town as well. And we're seeing statewide, everyone's enrollment is going down. Within Indiana State, the enrollment has gone down quite a bit. We haven't gone back to our pre COVID numbers, but within the College of Education, we actually went up this year, which is
Okay.
a huge, 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 like, a very big point of pride for us in the College of Education, that in a time when it's very hard to convince people to become a teacher and it's very hard to um, advocate for teachers, we actually increased enrollment, not by much, but a little bit, and we'll take it. So they did still have to lay off a lot of adjunct professors. That tends to be the first drop, is the adjunct professors. Um, Myself and there's only one other person who does secondary education at Indiana State right now. So my job is pretty secure because Indiana also came out with rules that if you have a certain you have below a certain threshold for graduating numbers, then they drop your program or it has to be absorbed with another one. And so that's been a challenge that we've been trying to face as well, because almost half of the programs at Indiana State fall below that threshold.
Wow.
And so, everyone's scrambling and trying to figure out how to consolidate. Um, Professors didn't get a raise this year. And that is one of the things that I think people really misunderstand. I misunderstood or just didn't believe. I feel like people told me and I just didn't believe them. Big surprise. That professors make a lot more money than K-12. And I'm sure there are situations, especially in bigger, fancier universities, where that is the case. But I would say a vast majority of small universities and community colleges, that's not the case. And I know for me, I took a pay cut when I went from K-12 to university. Now, caveat that I was working in San Diego and then moved to Terre Haute, Indiana.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
slightly different.
massive cost of
Yeah.
living differences. But if I were working in the K-12 system here with my level of education and experience, I maybe am making about 5,000 more than I would if I was working K-12 right now in the state of
Now
Indiana.
now I don't wanna poo-poo your decision of moving from San Diego to Terre Haute, Indiana, but I did go to San Diego for the first time back in January,
Yeah,
and
I know.
I don't wanna say it. I don't wanna
I
say it. It
know.
was you're a little crazy,
I know.
because it is. I mean, I was at a nursing conference with my wife. I got to play conference husband,
The best.
and we were at the Hotel Coronado, which
Oh, the
I'm
Hotel
sure you
Del?
yeah, it was just I
Ugh,
had no business being at this place,
yeah,
because it was just the nicest hotel I've ever set foot in my life. It's, like,
yeah.
made of wood. Like,
And
it's
they
like a
just renovated it, so it
yeah,
looks
it's a
really
nationally
nice.
registered historic place, and you just watch
Yeah.
F-16s and aircraft carriers go out to sea from the military bases, and
Yep.
it's just, why did you move?"
So, here's
No,
the thing.
I know why,
I
yeah.
didn't live in the Hotel Del, so I've visited a couple times,
Yeah, a
and you
little
did
different.
see, and that is, like, the nicest area of San Diego
Yes,
is
it
right
is.
there. Like, Coronado, for your listeners who don't know, is like a little island reached by bridge in San Diego, that is mostly, like, military and very, 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 very rich people, and the Hotel Del is, like, insane. It's gorgeous, and very old, and who wrote the book? What book was written there? Did you see the stuff?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember it. Now
Um,
I'm gonna have to look that up,
uh,
while we're talking.
Ruby Slippers, wasn't it? The guy who wrote, The Ruby Slippers.
Wizard of Oz?
Yes, it
Oh,
is
yeah.
the
Yeah, I was
author
like
of Wizard
Frank
of Oz.
Baum?
Frank
Frank L. Baum?
Yeah, Wizard of Oz. I think that's who wrote the book there, but please fact check me if I'm
I
wrong.
will.
But yeah, it is beautiful. I love it. My family's all there, so we get to go back and visit once a year. Um, But the cost of living is so outrageous there. It's actually kinda stunning. The average home in San Diego County, the average home is $1,000,000.
It we were looking I When we were driving around, we would look like, "Oh, there's this house for sale. Let's look at it." And it was like a shack, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
use the number again, James. It was like $11 billion.
Yeah,
It was just it's on hotel the not ho Coronado Island, and
yeah,
it's like a little we're familiar with Long Beach Island, like a little beach shack, and it
yeah,
was like $1.6 million. Like,
yeah,
it is insane, the
yeah.
property values out there.
And everything burns down every couple of years. So
Yes.
there is that too. I mean, I have had to be evacuated from my home 2 times because of fire threat, and all of that. But I mean, honestly, the biggest thing was, I had to go where I got a job. And Indiana State, I applied everywhere. I worked so hard to try and get a job, and I literally just shotgunned out job applications everywhere when I was finishing my doctorate. And I got exactly 1 phone call and exactly 1 interview and exactly 1 offer, and it was Indiana State.
There
And
you go.
it has been so fantastic to be at this university. I have a really amazing chair and dean, and it's been a really good place to be because there are some colleges in Indiana where the workload would be incredibly heavy because they're more research oriented. And so I wouldn't be able to do all the rest of the things I'm doing because I would have to be producing so much research. Um, and Indiana State wants research, but that is not their number one goal. It's teaching. And so I feel like I landed exactly where I was supposed to be.
And how about you have 2 boys, right?
I have a boy and a girl. So my
Boy and a
daughter
girl,
is,
okay.
yeah, my daughter's 7 and my son is 5.
Okay. And how are they doing in school there? How do you feel the
So,
schooling?
so they're actually in a private school, and I had to kind of make that decision for a few different things. The main thing was my daughter was really, really struggling. We actually thought she was dyslexic for a little while,
Hmm.
and she also is a summer birthday. So we put her in when she was just barely 5 into kindergarten, and we put her at this very small school, very small private school. I mean, there was 11 kids in her class. And her teacher had been teaching for a very long time. And she ended up, because she struggled so much, we kept her back and she did kindergarten a second time last year. And if any parents ever deal with this situation, I cannot recommend strongly enough having your child repeat in kindergarten as opposed to pushing them forward. Number one, you get them for another year then. Like it's like bonus year now. My daughter's gonna turn 18. She'll be like, I'm an adult. Be like, not yet. You got another year of high school, my girl. Like it's the best. And she has thrived since we did that, and has done so, so well. Her teacher was amazing and was like, I just would love for you to come back and be a leader with me and all of that. And so school has not been as easy for her. She definitely has the ADHD that my husband and I both share. And so
Same.
yeah, and so school has been really, really hard. I mean, I knew that when you said you completely forgot about the show. That's such an ADHD thing that like I didn't write it down. It did not exist, unfortunately.
Yeah. You live and die
Like
by the calendar.
exactly.
That-
Exactly. And so my daughter is very much like me, and so she really, really struggled, and now she's thriving. My son is one of those people who is so infuriating, who it comes so easily to him. Like, he doesn't have to try that hard. He's kinda there for the jokes and the fun of everything, and then it just happens for him. Like, he kind of, like, passively learned how to read. Like, we'll be sitting there, and he'll just be like he'll just read a word, and my daughter, I mean, I for 2 years when she was in kindergarten, both times, I had to sit at the kitchen table with her, and, I mean, it was laborious working through the phonics and all of that, and for him, he's just like, "Yeah, that's what it says. You can't tell?" So, it's, like, very different kids, but they are now doing very, very well, and it's been fantastic, to kind of see both of them come into their own and really and the school that they're at with those teachers, they are just the absolute sweetest. We love them so much. And because it is such a small school, everybody knows my kids now very, very well. So I get a lot of last year I got a lot of calls from the preschool teacher for my son and also the principal for my son because he's there for the vibes and he's not really always wanting to work. So
Did you hold him back as well?
no, so
Oh,
he's an April birthday, and they're 2 years apart. So, now they're only 1 year apart in school.
right.
So he just started kindergarten this year. Last year was such a challenge in pre-K, and his teacher was so, so sweet and so patient. But I mean, when he started, he wouldn't even color because he's like, "Why? I don't want to. Why would I do that?" And I'm like, "Well, you gotta listen to what the teacher tells you to do," and, like, those basic, like, listening and obeying, and he's a COVID kid. So all the COVID kids this year are starting like, the ones who were born in the year of our Lord 2020 are now starting kindergarten, and, so he, is still, I think still kind of adjusting to classroom stuff, but I'm so glad we had him in preschool last year because he learned the routines, and I so far, knock on all the wood, haven't heard from his kindergarten teacher that he's been a major issue. So, Thankfully, I think partially because he was in preschool at that same building, we kind of set him up for a little bit more success because he already is learning a lot of the stuff that my daughter didn't get to do because we were in another place and she was in daycare, not preschool. So that probably also contributed.
Okay.
There's also
And
some. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Joe, you wanted to know, we had kind of talked a little bit earlier about some of your own struggles in school. Is
Mhm.
it similar to things that your daughter experienced or not?
Yeah, that's something you've openly talked about on your podcast.
Yeah.
And we've seen some recent clips on social media. Um, so yeah, we'd love to hear your story as well.
It's so funny because I think the biggest difference between me and my daughter and the way that we learn is that she cares more than I did. Like she wants to do well. There's nothing better to her than being told good job. I never cared if you thought I was doing a good job. I, like my son, was there for the vibes. But I didn't have the natural skill that he has with a lot of the stuff. I don't remember struggling to read, but I come from a very um, literate literacy focused family. I mean, my parents, just like I did with my kids, like always read to us and stuff like that. I didn't struggle the way my daughter did with learning to read. I do remember it coming a little bit more naturally. So my son probably is more of a learner like I am. Um, TBD on if he shares the neurospiciness. I would actually be a little surprised if he did because I don't think he has a lot of the other things. But I was not diagnosed with ADHD until I was until like 4 years ago. Like I was finishing my doctorate and I finally got a diagnosis. And I still think my parents don't fully believe that I have it because I graduated and they were just like, "Why are you always forgetting your homework? You do your homework and then you forget it at home." And I'm like, I don't know. And why is your locker always a disaster with a million things falling out of it and your backpack? And I'm like, I forget. And they're like, how do you forget these things? And so my biggest challenge in school, especially high school, was that I number 1, math was a major, major challenge for me. So anything that touched math, whether it was like a science thing we had to do that like kind of danced with math, if I started to do something and I started to hit that wall of resistance of like, I'm not sure I understand this. I was so fearful of feeling stupid that I would rather quit and preserve my dignity in my mind than work hard and fail. Which I think is the case for a lot of kids, which is why I always really liked working with kids that struggled like that because I can kind of get them to a place where I'm like, listen, I get it. Like my brain immediately, if someone tells me a math equation, is not to try and solve it, but to stop listening.
Yep.
Um, and same thing, if someone is trying to explain something to me like that, I try so hard to calm myself down and do all of these things, but I get like immediate panic. And so I will usually like remove myself from the situation. And that was always my issue in math classes. I did the bare minimum math all through high school. I was an athlete, so I played basketball and I played volleyball. So I always maintained good enough grades so I didn't lose eligibility. But when I graduated high school, and I was in I was in honors English, and then I was in the bare minimum math. And I think when I graduated high school, I had a 2.8 GPA, somewhere around there. My older brother had a 4.3. My younger sister had a 4.2 or something. They were both in AP classes, honors classes. The only honors class I ever took was English. And then I graduated high school and had no idea where I was headed after that because I knew I wasn't good at school. So why bother? Um, I had that one English teacher who told me that it wasn't that I wasn't capable, but I wasn't trying with my English, which she was, it was true. I didn't have to try very hard. So I just kind of like pounded out an essay in 2 minutes and then turned it in. And then when I went to college, I had a goal that I wanted to get into a university and I wanted to get a 4.0 just to see if I could. And so once I started the community college, I got a 4.0 my first semester there. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not dumb. Like that was like one of those moments where like I actually tried and then I saw that I actually could achieve what I wanted. And then that kind of shifted things for me quite a bit is recognizing that what was holding me back was a lot of time my fear of failure and not actually my abilities. Which I mean is the case. I feel like that's followed me through. Like my biggest fear with doing comedy was that I tried and failed. Um, And now I'm doing it, and the worst has happened, and I've had shows where I'm like, that wasn't great. And it's, we learn and we get better. And it's so funny because I've always been one of those people that like I can recognize if someone's doing something for the first time, they're probably not going to be good at that, and that's okay. And that applies to everyone but me. Like everyone else is allowed to be bad at it at first, except for me. I have to be great at first. Like at very first time I do something, I need to be excellent. And that's insane. And so that has, I think, been the biggest thing for me is allowing myself to be bad at stuff. I saw this quote recently that said the price of success is embarrassment. Um, and it's so true. Like that is how we get to where we want to be is that we need to allow ourselves to take risks and to be embarrassed and to do things that like we look back and we kind of cringe. Like that is how we get to eventually be really awesome, but it starts with like the cringe and the embarrassment.
Yeah. I'm living that with my kids right now with they're trying something new and when you have that I have one that's like the perfectionist mentality. Like if I can't be the best at it, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not how it works.
My son was convinced when he was younger, that we, like, tried to teach him how to ride a bike, and he couldn't do it. He's like, "I just wanna ride a bike. I'm good." And then, like, he just wouldn't because he wasn't it Andrew, exactly what you were saying. If he couldn't do it perfect from the start,
Yeah.
he didn't wanna do it.
Yep.
Um, and he kinda changed his mentality with certain things where he'll put in the effort, but he also realizes there's a ceiling to certain things if you're not gonna put in that extra effort.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of people who struggle with the same thing, especially
Yeah.
kids in the classroom, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I sent her like a or I mean, my girls don't have social media, so I have to show them on my phone because they can't open it.
Good.
But there was yes, and now holding strong. They're 13. Let's see how much longer I can hold on to it. But
Yeah.
it was, if you are feeling so frightened, it means that it's really that important to you.
Yeah.
And that it's the high stakes. It's so if that take that fear and tell yourself that's just because this is so important to me and it has so much value.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that will stick. And also it's like, try it. If you don't like it, I'll, give it a few months and then
Yeah.
we'll revisit that. You don't always have to stay stuck in boy, I took a lot of math classes that if someone would have let me bail, I would have been much happier person.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, and I
100%.
I had a friend who also gave me I'm not a person who does, like, affirmations and all of that. I have one of my very good friends is very much an affirmation girly, and I just make fun of her relentlessly. I just bully her for it. But she did give me one like, this affirmation card that actually I did find very helpful, especially before doing stand-up for the first time. Because with stand up, usually comics are doing 20 minutes at a time for years, and they're perfecting their 20 minutes or their 10 minutes for years before they stand up in front of people for an hour. And because of my platform and everything, my first time standing up in front of everyone solo was an hour. And that's terrifying. Teaching really does prepare you to be a comic because you are used to standing up in front of people and talking to people and it feeling more natural. So I do feel like I at least had that piece for me. But she gave me a card that said you don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect to still be awesome. And I was like, that's so true though. Like I can go up there and it's going to be awesome and it's not going to be perfect and it can be both things. Like it doesn't have to be perfect and it can still be really, really great. And I think that it's so hard because we tend to be very black and white when we're looking at ourselves, especially that like we can look at other people we love and we're like, well, I don't love this about them, but I love all of these other things and they're awesome and valuable and wonderful. And it's so hard when it's ourselves. Um, and I think that one of the other challenges I have is I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday, that the length of time that I allow myself to celebrate anything is probably too short. When it comes to achievements professionally, personally, all of that. I am someone who is very goal oriented. And Joe, you're probably the same way with this, where like you thrive off of the chase of getting the thing. And then once you get it, you're like, I have this shiny thing. And then you're like, anyways, what's the next shiny thing? Like,
Yeah, it's the journey, not the destination, right?
yes,
I kind
exactly.
of, it's like, when I teach the Declaration of Independence, this is my nerd out moment, like, you talk about, like, the pursuit of happiness. It's not achieving happiness that makes you happy, it's the journey that you take in order to get there, because
Yes.
you never will achieve try to get philosophical, you never will achieve happiness because you will always be pursuing a different kind of happiness, whether it be, you talked about playing basketball, whether it be making the basketball team or, getting into college or getting married, starting a family, like, all those things are, like, journeys to happiness, and then once you make it, you'll switch to something else. Most
Yeah,
people are like, "Yeah, what's the next shiny thing?" Like you just said.
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
And
mean, I don't wanna be Uncle Rico, like, living in 1982 or anything, but I also think that the celebration of, like, the accomplishments is really important, and to be
yes.
able to kind of really feel that and enjoy it rather than just, like, "What's next?"
Yeah, and
Because
that's something I'm really trying to be intentional about
yeah.
because when in 2020 August of 2021, I sat down and I created a 5-year plan for myself of different goals I wanted to achieve, and it was things like write a book and, get a job at a university, get my doctorate, and, like, all of these different things that I have achieved, and I am so bad about being like, "Cool," because if I acknowledge it too much, then it feels like number one, I'm being like full of myself or arrogant, or that if I look at it too closely, it's going to disappear. And so my husband has been very good about like forcing me, like when my book comes out, we're going to have a book release party. And even as I say that, it gives me a stomach ache because as much as I love being on stage doing comedy, it's not like I still don't see that as like being about me or my accomplishments. It's like mostly self-deprecating humor when I'm on stage. And so the thought of having an event where I'm like, let's celebrate this book I wrote, like I'm already embarrassed. Like, but I'm like, no, we need to celebrate it. We need to make it like we need to mark an occasion, if for nothing else, that my kids to see that mom worked really hard on this thing
Yes.
and then it happened. I think is really important. But it's
Yeah.
I feel like
And for them
we're
to
all learning.
watch you enjoying it and understanding how much you deserve that
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
yeah,
letting them learn that lesson.
yeah. I don't know if you follow, I think her name's Alana Mar. She's the rugby player,
Mhm.
Oh,
and
love her. Yes.
I
yeah,
love her
and
too.
the quote where they were like, "Do you ever get, oh, what's it called? Imposter syndrome?" And she's like, "No, I deserve this." And I'm like,
Which
"You know what?
I love that attitude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
like, no, actually, I deserve this. I work really, really hard, and I've sacrificed a lot, and I deserve what I have." And I'm like, "Yes, I love that."
And I
Like,
love hearing that from a female because
yeah,
I think that that is
100.
something that
Yep.
is much more like men are very much like, yeah, of course I deserve this. I mean, I tried and I did it and it's mine and everyone should be, and I feel like women become or were raised a little bit more of like that apologetic and you can't be bold and don't. So I love that she says that because it's so
mhm.
true that you should be able to be like, damn it, I wrote a book.
Yeah,
I also
exactly.
Yeah.
I also follow Sam Sullivan, who's another, rugby player, US rugby player, and I
Yeah.
remember when she was interviewed, she's like, "Yeah, this is a big deal. We won the silver medal, but, like, all I really wanna do is build Legos, and, like, Lego, I want you to sponsor me. Like, you should totally send me stuff." And, like, she became, like, this Lego I mean, it's the stuff that she, like,
Build.
builds and stuff like that, like, they send her, like, these big kits and she puts them
Love
together, but,
it.
like, just her manifesting that herself. Great
Right?
follows, by the way, on social media, both of them.
Yes. Yeah.
My
So
daughter actually
Andrea,
learned
oh,
on our
sorry.
on our trip to Alaska, my daughter actually learned how to open, king crabs from watching Alana Mar, like, break the legs over her wrist, and then, like, at one point, I couldn't get the knuckle of the king crab open, and my
Yeah.
daughter put it on the table and, like, gave the damn thing, like, CPR. She was, like, up on
Nice.
the table and, like, broke it up. I was like, "Where'd you learn that?" She's like, "I was watching Alana Mar on
Heck
TikTok,"
yeah.
and yeah, it's awesome. So what is I'm sorry, Jen,
So
Amy, I
Andrea,
interrupted you.
Jen.
Jen.
So Andrea, you recently moved into a new house. I'm curious, what was more difficult, moving or giving birth?
Oh.
My hot take is giving
Oh.
birth is easier than moving.
Moving is a DEFCON level 1 stress event with children. With children her age, DEFCON level 1 stress event. Sorry.
So, I've had 2 moves in the past 3 years, and, the first move was from California to Indiana.
Mhm.
That was incredibly challenging because I was an idiot and I was like, we're going to get hotels that have pools. We'll drive, but we're not going to like go crazy and drive it in 2 days. We should have done that. We should have just gone through. Instead, it was like 4 days and it was a nightmare because my kids don't sleep. And we were all in one hotel room. Nightmare. And then this last move was great because I moved, I think we're 3 miles from one house to the other.
Got it.
So it was very quick and we had family help and all of that. So that one wasn't so bad.
Okay.
And to be fair, my 2 deliveries were very different. So, I mean, I would say delivering my daughter was easier than moving.
Mhm.
Delivering my son was harder than moving
Okay.
because
I
he was
appreciate the separation there. I
Yeah.
like it.
yeah, he was like I said, he was an April 2020 baby. So,
Ugh,
things were
yeah.
dark, things were bleak. My
Yeah.
epidural didn't work.
I
I
didn't
had like
think of that. Whoa.
Pitocin getting pushed, so it wasn't a normal delivery anyways. So that was
Mhm.
like nightmare fuel delivery.
Mm.
So I will say that one was still worse than moving, but moving across the country with small kids is pretty
Yes.
terrible.
The last
Ooh.
time I moved into this house, I said, I will move in a pine box out of this house is the
Yeah.
next time I will move.
Yeah. Like I'm
'Cause
done.
yeah,
We're staying at this house for a very long time. I
'cause
love this house.
our
We're
kids
good.
were our kids were about to go in the 2nd grade. We were living in Pennsylvania and then moved here, and we had a gap between where we weren't in the house yet. So my wife was up with her parents with our dogs, and I was uh, about 45 minutes south of her with my parents and our kids, and we would like see each other every once in a while, and like it was nuts. It was just an absolutely insane. It was a fun summer because we did a
Yeah.
lot of different stuff, but it was just crazy.
Right.
So what are some things, by the way, before we finish up with you, what are do we besides your book that's coming out in April of 20? Did you say April of 2026? Why does that stick in my head? Is that
May
or
of
you said
2026.
May of 2026?
Yeah.
That which is of course a huge accomplishment. We're gonna be first online to read it.
Thank you.
Um, what are some other show dates you have going on? Where are you performing in the next couple months? Where are you going to be at? Do you happen to?
So, if you have anybody in Richmond, Virginia, we're going to be there with Teachers Lounge with Gasper Randazzo and Phil Lindsay, September 13th, then September 14th in Raleigh, North Carolina. And those are both very big venues. We just found out that both of them are like 500 seaters again, which I don't know if the fear of like not selling tickets ever goes away. We've only ever had sellouts when the 3 of us go together. But every time we have a new show, we're like, is anyone going to come? And then it's amazing and people come. But and we haven't had a show that hasn't sold out. So if you do have anybody that wants to come to any of these Teachers Lounge shows, absolutely get tickets ASAP, because I know even we have a show in Columbus, Ohio in November, and we've already sold almost half the tickets for that one, which is
That is
crazy.
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So let me run through a couple. So October, we're going to be in Houston and Addison, Texas. October 11th, I'm going to be doing solo in Indianapolis. November 8th and 9th, we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And November 15th, I'm going to be in St. Louis, Missouri, doing a solo show. And we got other stuff coming later this year as well. So very
well,
exciting.
we hope you come back to New Jersey because Jamie and I will promise you, so there's no quarrel,
That's
Uh-huh.
right.
that we will be
Uh-huh.
there. And there might have been a guy who many years ago did a couple of open mic nights because he wanted to be a stand-up comedian, but instead decided to teach 13-year-olds and stand in front of them and try to make them laugh on a regular basis. So
I
I'm
mean,
just saying, 2 very delightful people could be an opener. I'm just saying. But no, we would definitely be there.
awesome.
And shout out to Indiana because I have a love for the state because my best friend lives there and I go there every year to send you a obligatory pick of the pagoda on Memorial Day weekend at the Indy 500. I always remember to send that to you since I know you're in the great state of Indiana.
That's right.
So-
And one of these days, I'm actually going to make it to that. But the amount of people that go to that really dissuades me because I'm like, that is so many
You'd be
people.
surprised how it's not as packed as you would think it is because it's so
Okay.
big. It's
Yeah.
just so big.
Yeah.
I got some tailgating secrets, girl. You can come and have some drinks with us.
I mean, we
Absolutely.
will definitely. Maybe next
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
Absolutely. Well, as always, Andrea, I can't thank you enough for not only, being willing enough to be on our little show when we were literally just starting out and you were rocket shipping yourself on social media. But even for coming on again, we really appreciate you. And Jamie, I appreciate you too, buddy.
I appreciate you, Joe, and of course, Educator Andrea, for all the laughs and your great insights, and for always answering our questions on and off camera. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out www.educatorandrea.com/tickets for all of those shows that she'll be performing at. Definitely a great time. Whether you're a teacher or not, damn it, you should go.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. All right, we'll see everybody next time on the Balancing Act podcast.
Bye.
Look for the Balancing Act podcast every week on your favorite podcast platform. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Thank you for being a part of our audience. We appreciate you.